Good morning. It's Pastor Bob Grenier from Calvary Chapel here in Visalia. As we continue to study through the book of 1 Peter, verse by verse and chapter by chapter, he continues to deal with the theme of 1 Peter, which is encouraging Christians who were suffering. And here in the fourth chapter, he deals with those who are suffering according to the will of God. And he says this, "For the time has come for judgment to begin at the house of God. And if it begins with us first, what will be the end of those who do not obey the gospel of God?" Now what Peter's talking about is that the Lord is currently dealing with his own children in that he purges us that we might be cleansed and we bring forth fruit. And so that's his action, that's his purpose in our lives. But the question is asked, what will happen to those ultimately who do not obey the gospel of God? And of course the implied truth is that they will stand before the judgment of God, and that's how the Lord will deal with them. And then he says in verse 18, "Now if the righteous one is scarcely saved, where will the ungodly and the sinner appear?" What he is saying here in this verse, and it's a loose quote, by the way, from Proverbs 11:31, which is basically stating that God's people do receive some rewards here in this life. So if God is attending to his children in this life, what's going to happen to the sinner when they appear before God in judgment? So if God is dealing with us, how is he going to deal with them? If he's rewarding us now, what will be brought upon them when they appear before God's judgment throne? That's really the two thoughts that he continues to bring out. And then finally, there's a bit of application. He says in verse 19, "Therefore, let those who suffer according to the will of God commit their souls to him in doing good." Whenever we see the word "therefore" in the Bible, it means there's some application. So in light of what he's been saying, he is now saying to us, if you're suffering according to the will of God, and in context, he's speaking about Christians who've not done anything wrong, but they're suffering, and they're enduring it patiently. And he says, if you're that person, then here's the two things to do. Number one, commit your souls to him in doing good. And the word commit means to place into the hands of God. And of course, to do good means to walk in fellowship with Christ, to follow him, to follow his leading, and to obey him. He's a faithful creator. So, the next chapter actually deals with Peter's instruction to those in leadership and some other miscellaneous items. They're very, very important. But here we have these beautiful verses. So if you're suffering according to the will of God, you might read 1 Peter chapter 4, there in verse 17 through 19. Well, God bless you. Look forward to sharing with you tomorrow. Bye-bye.